Hello everyone, I am Brittany Dixon, your Miss Earth Australia 2020. I want to welcome you to two of our country's most iconic landmarks right in the heart of Sydney, the stunning Sydney Harbour Bridge and spectacular Sydney Opera House. These iconic landmarks capture the spirit of every Australian as one of the cultural epicentres of our country. One fascinating fact about Australia is that it is home to some of the most unique wildlife on the planet, with more than 80% that can't be found anywhere else. From the cute and cuddly koalas, kangaroos and quokkas, to the deadly venomous snakes, birds of prey and crocodiles, everything serves its role to balance our one-of-a-kind ecosystems. And as a wildlife warrior, I couldn't think of a more fitting ecotourism opportunity than right here at Sydney Wildlife Park in Darling Harbour, which is in the central business district of Sydney. Here you can get up close and personal and learn exciting facts about some of the beautiful creatures that our country has to offer. My love of wildlife and nature led me to studying animal and veterinary bioscience at the University of Sydney. And part of my studies was that I had the opportunity to do some pretty amazing works all around Australia. From free diving and catching sharks in the crystal clear waters of Jervis Bay, to helping out with cane toad management in the top end of the Northern Territory. These incredible experiences really affirmed what I wanted to do for my life, to make a real positive difference in the environment. That is why I pursued a career with the New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife Service as a valued member of the wildlife team who ensures that Australia's plants and animals are protected every day for the future generations to come. One of the toughest moments in my life is when I was diagnosed with brain cancer in 2017 whilst competing for Miss Earth Australia. My diagnosis lit a fire in me and it helped me look at my life positively and motivated me to keep on chasing my dreams. And with God's graces, when I got better after a year of treatment, I continued my advocacy for wildlife conservation. As an animal lover, I continued raising awareness that the loss of biodiversity is a serious environmental issue that requires our attention. It is vital to remember that we rely on these living systems to survive. We rely on them for food security, the water we drink, and the air that we breathe. This is the reason that I am very supportive of any environmental initiatives in our country that address the 5 R's: rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle, and respect. One of these organisations is TerraCycle. It is a social enterprise that is committed to eliminating the idea of waste in Australia. They collect plastic waste and recycle these into new products. Through this program across Australia, it helps keep millions of pieces of plastic out of our landfill every year. I can't think of anything else that I want to do for the rest of my life. For such a long time now, I've been a part of so many activities that help our environment. From planting trees and nurturing our reserves, to cleaning up beaches in our community, and from contributing to scientific research to different projects in my work. Before being a beauty queen, I have always been an environmental advocate first. If at the end of this journey, with or without the Miss Earth crown, I will continue my passion to raise awareness in saving our threatened species and by conserving the beauty of our planet Earth and making her a greener place to live in. And by doing that, I know I will have lived a meaningful life and will be forever grateful that I somehow made a difference. Thank you very much. I am Brittany Dixon. I am Miss Earth Australia. I am Woman of the Earth. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. A warm and green evening to everyone, and welcome to the biggest advocacy-driven beauty pageant in the country. This is Miss Earth Australia 2021. Thank you for joining us again this lovely Tuesday evening. I am Brittany Dixon, your current Miss Earth Australia. Before we start, I would like to thank our sponsor this evening who made this pre-pageant presentation possible, the Environmental Speech and Intelligence Round. Mega World International. And of course, Mega World International is headed by the ever-energetic Managing Director and Executive Vice President, Maravik Acosta, and the Vice President for Asia and Pacific 3, Liz Angelis. Thank you very much. And to all of our viewers who are watching us live via our official Miss Earth Australia Facebook and YouTube page, I want to thank you from wherever you are watching us in the world right now. Please continue showing your support for our national finalists by sharing your messages, reactions, and feedback in the comment sections throughout this evening. Over the weekend, we had the second to the last of the pre-pageant presentations, where our national finalists presented themselves in the poise and body and evening gown rounds. Tonight is the last installment of the pre-pageant competition, where our national finalists will be competing in the environmental speech and intelligence round. So how will this go? Our ladies will face the judges and will open with their environmental speech. Then for the next 5 minutes, the judges will ask and interview each finalist about their speech, advocacy, and where they stand regarding current environmental topics. Miss Earth was my pageant of choice because it was more than just about beauty. There is a real emphasis on being intelligent and standing for a cause. This can really narrow the field and highlights the finalists who don't only just have the looks or the heart, but also the mind to carry the responsibility of being our national representative for Mother Earth. It is a daunting experience, but I'm hoping our ladies tonight can handle the pressure and really show that they know what they're here for. And of course, tonight would not be complete without the help of our special panel of judges joining me tonight. Our first judge proudly represented our country on the international stage, fighting hard for the conservation of our Earth and the environment. Since then, she has worked on many campaigns, including Oz Harvest, tackling food wastage, and continues to work with small communities locally and internationally. Aside from that, she is currently finishing her degree in osteopathy and taking up a Pilates instructor course in the hopes that she can help the community by contributing to people's health in a holistic and meaningful way. In her spare time, you'll find her brunching around Melbourne, doing various TV commercials and modelling gigs. Please welcome our most recent Miss Earth Australia, who was crowned as part of the Miss Earth International Elemental Court, Miss Air International 2017, Nina Robertson.
Hello, thanks Britt for that warm welcome. Thanks for having me tonight.
Thanks, Nina. I remember standing hand in hand with you back in 2017, and if anyone but me had to take the title then, I was so glad it was you that night.
Oh, thank you. But you definitely had your chance afterwards, and I think it's such an amazing pageant to really speak about things that you're passionate about, and just shows that if you keep working hard and fighting and are passionate about the cause, the title is yours,
Yeah, so on that, tell us about some of the things that you most enjoyed doing as a Miss Earth Australia and as Miss Air 2017.
Well, I loved all the outreach programs that we got to take part in, especially in the international, in the Philippines. So that was really close to my heart because I am half Filipino, half Australian. So in a way, it was and enabled me to get in touch with some of my roots. And but I was very passionate about educating the youth in particular and spreading awareness about some of my advocacies like food wastage and planting bamboo plants around the Philippines. But one of the things that was so memorable to me was just the sense of community when you're sort of competing with all the other girls. You know, you have the same mission and the same cause, and it's just that sense of empowerment that you all get when you're all together, which I thought was quite memorable.
Yeah, definitely. And even though, unfortunately, we are virtual this time around, the girls' social media just makes it so easy to connect with people. And I'm sure once the world opens up, that will all start happening again. So thank you so much, Nina. We're keeping it in the family tonight. Our last judge represents the Miss Earth Australia organisation. He works in the medical industry and has a long career in the aviation maintenance and medical fields. He is responsible for transitioning the Miss Earth Australia organisation online. By moving the business model mostly into the digital space, the organisation has reduced its impact on the environment by removing almost all paper in the business. He is also very passionate about e-recycling and reusing packaging. Please welcome our Miss Earth Australia Executive Director for Digital and Online Services, Mark Hawthorne.
Hello, Brittany. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Hi there, Mark. I've got a stash of e-waste I need to get recycled. Do you want to tell our audience where I should go do that?
Most recycling places do offer e-waste recycling. Most metal recyclers, if you go to your local metal recycler, they do have an e-waste part. So just ring up your local scrap metal agent. They'll offer e-waste recycling. Sometimes your local council will have an e-waste recycling drive regularly. So check with your local council. My employer, we have a special skip bin at work where we throw all our e-waste into, which is collected and sent away for recycling.
Love it. It's great for everyone to know that we have all those options available to us. So do you want to also tell us a little bit about your expectations of the ladies tonight?
Expectations of the ladies tonight, I think it's going to be quite interesting, informative. I've seen these ladies from the start, from when they first, applied with us, the application, seeing their knowledge come out and their passion and everything. And I think we'll see that tonight in their answers and their speech tonight.
That's it. I'm getting really excited. So thank you to Nina and Mark. I know everyone else is also now excited to start this final pre-pageant presentation. So again, just a reminder, our finalists will start with their environmental speech, and thereafter we'll have 5 minutes to interact with the judges. Without further ado, let us welcome our first national finalist, Jessie Fawn from Victoria.
Hi.
Hi, Jessie. You're welcome to start your speech when you're ready.
Okay. So I guess from the start, I've always been trying to advocate for the further protection and conservation of Australian wildlife. This is, as I've said many times, because we are clearing hectares upon thousands of hectares of our natural forests and lands for a variety of reasons, none of them really that great. And with that, we're losing a mass amount of our native species. I think along with my advocacy, I've been trying to get people to relate to this through their own environments at their home. You can see that through my eco photos, trying to encourage small steps to change people's views so they will eventually feel more connected to the environment that surrounds them, and in a way start to make changes that will eventually lead up to a societal transformation in a sense. I know that a lot of people, they see these things and they feel disconnected, especially when it's so far away from them. So I think trying to find a way to relate them back to our natural forests, our native species is really
Jessie. The bell did ring, so just a heads up for our other contestants. When that bell dings, we have to wrap up. But we'll get into some questions. Nina, do you have a question for Jessie?
Yes. Well, something that really resonated with your speech was connecting with your environment. Because I know during lockdown, I have spent a lot of walks outside and sort of noticed things about the nature and my environment that I didn't used to before, which has kind of enhanced my relationship with that, I guess. But what are some other tips or advice that you would give to people right now in lockdown to connect with their environment?
I think like making small changes in your home. So whether it be you change to using like silicone or metal straws, you start changing like your diet to have more ethical choices, or even just involving more plants, more I guess doing my sponsorship things. So your the bee program that I put in my eco photos, sort of doing things like that, where it's like you can sponsor an animal or sponsor something that's relevant to your environment, and you can do it from your home. I really believe that small changes start within people's personal environments, and that's what I've really been advocating for. Like, if you can make these changes in your own environment, soon you'll become more aware and more connected to the earth and the things around you. Yeah.
Thank you. Mark, do you have a question that you'd like to share with Jessie?
Yes, I've got a question to share with Jessie. Following on from Nina's question, I know we're in lockdown, what can you advise people to do about getting the message out there and doing things from within their home in the greater environments, like outside the house space? How can you advise people to go about doing these things to reduce the impact on the environment, or, you know, natural resources clearing, or helping wildlife from within their home?
From within their home?
Yes.
I think like you need to jump on the like signing petitions. We really need more public support for conservation. I think right now it gets overlooked because a lot of people either not aware of it. So even just something like that, there needs to be more public outcry to create more protected areas for not just like our native species, but for ourselves, when we can eventually leave the home after lockdown and go out into the world and explore these places. On top of that, I think watching your products as well, what you're bringing into your home can make a huge impact. So much of our landfill isn't actually recycled, and it ends up in our environment in Australia. So even just watching what you're bringing in, trying to be more conservative about it, try to find lasting products, replacements, even getting involved doing hobbies around your home that like I do, like the furniture, just things that will make a lasting change that can be personal to you, but also a greater effect in the long run.
Thanks,
like
Jessie.
One voice is part of many, which eventually will make a difference.
I've got one more quick one for you. As an animal rights activist, what do you have to say to people who choose to consume or use animal products?
As an animal rights activist, like, first of all, you're not a bad person for consuming these products, okay? Like, the idea is never to tell people how to go about their lives. I think it is just making small changes has always been my message with this. If you can try something more ethical, if you can change maybe your ice cream, your dairy, small changes, or even being more aware of where your meat comes from. I understand that can be quite difficult, but there's a lot of resources out there to tell you where your meat's coming from. So even if you don't want to give up meat products, that's okay. But if you could be more aware about it and make more ethical choices, maybe try and find out what you could replace, like small steps, small changes, you know. Nobody here is evil, but we are all just trying to spread a better message to change things for the better for everyone. I think there's a big divide between what people think is like an animal activist and a vegan and what people aren't vegan. Like, you're not a bad person. Nobody thinks that.
Thank you so much, Jessie. Any other questions from our other judges, or are we ready to move on to our next finalist?
No more from me. Thank you.
I might ask one more. I just want to say, like, I love your approach to that answer. Like, it was a very, I think we do need to come about this as like a non-judgmental way, but just trying to raise more awareness about these things. But especially with conducting it online now, what has been like a positive aspect of doing the pageant this way versus like being in person, I guess, for the pageant?
I think actually advocating online has been more beneficial to me because I often do things more online, and that's where more of my connection is to people. So I think advocating online has been really good for me. I can go talk to people who maybe not would have thought about this before. I could strike up conversations with people who weren't aware of things and they found it interesting. So I think this has been a really good way to connect to more people, because the best part about social media and online streaming is we really can connect to people all over the world. So
Thanks,
that's been the
Jessie.
best part for me.
Do you have any final words to wrap up before we move on to our next finalist?
I think so. I know that public speaking has never been my forte, but if I was nominated as Miss Earth Australia, I am very good at connecting people in a diplomatic manner. And I do really believe that I could spread a message and make a change by connecting people in the exact same way, by breaking down differences and showing them that there are different ways about it, so nobody feels attacked and everybody can sort of feel involved. It doesn't matter what you're into, you can be part of this. And I think that's where I would really excel.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessie. You did a wonderful job. We are going to welcome in our next finalist, Emily Side from New South Wales.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Ready to go with your speech whenever you are.
Thank you, Britt. My advocacy is to highlight the delicate balance we have with our natural ecosystems and to raise awareness and reduce global consumer consumption. Fast fashion, single-use plastics, overflowing landfills, and decline in habitat are all consequences of global consumerism. I believe that as time's gone by, we've become a fast-paced society and a throwaway culture. I created my YouTube channel, I Am Emily Isabel, with my love of sustainable products and also my love of thrift store shopping, which is exactly where I got this outfit from today. So with my advocacy, it is my hope that I can get my message as widespread as possible. And through my teaching, I hope that I can continue to educate our current and future generations on environmental issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start with a tricky question for you. So you've described how you'd like to reduce global consumption and waste. How do you think that we can achieve this while still evolving and developing as part of the human race?
There's so many elements to it. It's not just one particular thing that is creating global consumerism. But I know what I just said earlier about fast fashion, that's a huge part. And I think if we're more aware of where our clothes are coming from and more aware where they're ending up as well, a huge fact that I heard recently, in Australia, 3/4 of the clothes that are purchased are thrown out within the year. And so generally those garments are going straight to landfill. That's just one example of global consumerism, but also furniture pieces as well. A lot of the time they're not made to last like they were in our grandparents' generation. And so a lot of the time we're leaving them on the curbside, we're going and buying something else for the new season. And so that's also contributing to global consumerism. And I think we just need to be more aware of our purchasing habits for everything that we're doing, because that in turn will stop global consumerism if we start to really think about our choices.
Thanks, Emily. That's certainly very true. Mark, do you have a question you'd like to share with Emily?
Yes, thank you, Brittany. Hi, Emily.
Hello, Mark.
My question is, you talked about sustainable products in thrift stores. Can you tell me a little bit more about how we can go about doing that, and our viewers what we can do more to reduce our fast fashion thing, and also how can we also donate our clothes to those thrift stores?
Of course. So if you go through your closet and you think, actually, you know what, I don't really use this very often. That's a great way of thinking, hang on, someone else could use this. It may be in really good condition and it will get the love that it deserves. You know, someone else will really appreciate using that. So just going to your local thrift stores, They all, of course, have collections. So doing something like that, or if there's something that needs repairing as well, you know, it may just be a simple tear or something like that. There are still people, you know, just in marketplaces and things that are seamstress that, you know, do help with mending things, and they can fix your outfit. So you're not having to go and buy, for example, a brand new pair of jeans when there's just a tiny little tear and you may not know yourself how to fix it. But there are definitely businesses still out there, and they're able to fix it within the day. And that's a great way of stopping throwing those outfits and those garments straight to landfill as well. And in terms of sustainable products that I talk about on my YouTube channel, of course, the good old coffee cup is something that I talked about in one of my videos, because there is so many coffee cups that are used, not just in Australia, but throughout the rest of the world every day. If you think about it, how many people, you know, just before work, do they go and get a coffee? So I talk about my reusable cup and I take it everywhere with me. It's generally in the car with me, so that when I go to a coffee shop, I'm not having to use that coffee cup. I bring my own one. And some businesses actually have an incentive for people bringing their own coffee cups. They might have 50 cents off your coffee. So it's trying to get people in and make them more aware about their environmental choices.
Thanks, Emily. Nina, do you have, Mark, do you have any comments in response?
No, that's a very good answer and very informative. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. Nina, on to you.
Yeah, well, I just want to double check. Did you say that you were a teacher or?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. And I think, you know, you really have such a strong influence on shaping the minds of, you know, the youth and our children. How would you go about educating or talking to someone who's quite younger, who sort of denies climate change? How would you go about that?
Yes, so I'm a drama teacher. So we've tried to implement different things into the studio, you know, having the right recycling bin and things like that. But in terms of, talking to our younger generation, I mean, it can be a little bit difficult if they don't understand necessarily about climate change and big environmental issues like that. But I've organised a Clean Up Australia Day and also a tree planting day. And I think the best way to get younger children to understand environmental issues, such as climate change, is getting them to be hands-on. They can see the rubbish that they've picked up and they can see a tangible, you know, they can actually see what they've done to improve the environment. And with the tree planting, they can go back and they can see that the trees are getting better, they're growing, and they can say, you know, I did that. And so I think definitely being hands-on, and also understanding, you know, your audience as well. They're kids. They want to have fun. And I think just making it as fun and also educational as you possibly can would be the best way, I think, to help the younger generation.
Yeah, lovely answer. Thanks for that, Emily.
Thanks, Emily. Do you have any closing final remarks that you'd like to share?
Yes, thank you, Britt. I would just love to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in tonight and throughout the journey for Miss Earth Australia this year. I would absolutely, of course, love to be the next Miss Earth Australia, but if I don't become the next Miss Earth Australia, I'm definitely going to continue my environmental advocacy. It's such a big part of my life and has been for a number of years. So I'll continue on, and I'd just love to say thank you for your time and thank you for the support I've had along this journey. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Emily. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you as part of the Miss Earth family this year. We are going to welcome in our next finalist, Angela Stajova from Victoria.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi there, Angela. We're ready to go with your speech when you are.
Sure. So for me, when I was trying to plan how do I convey a topic that's so important to me, which is the issue of endangered languages across the planet, I thought, do I do it by conveying the amount of languages that are likely to become extinct, which is 90% of our over 7,000 languages in the world? Do I talk about the number of languages within Australia, our Indigenous languages that have already become extinct? So of the 250 languages over that we used to speak, now only 60 are considered healthy? Or do I talk about the issues of why it's happening? Or do I ultimately talk about ways that we can improve it? And the ultimate way that we can improve it is by us all speaking our languages. So if I was fortunate enough to become Miss Earth Australia, I would absolutely advocate, not only in Australia, but ultimately around the earth, for us to all speak our languages, because when a language dies, it's not just a language that dies, but it's the culture and it's the history and it's a piece of our earth that dies. So nothing would be more important for me to, do than to actually just advocate that for everyone. And for everyone watching tonight, speak your languages, because it's the one way that we can ultimately help our languages not just survive, but to ultimately thrive around the planet. Thank you so much.
I will pass over to Nina again if she's got a question for you.
Yes. Hi, Angela. That's a really interesting advocacy that I haven't really heard too much about. So I guess this will be a good learning experience for me as well. But how would you describe it to people? How does the environment or climate change and whatnot impact in the loss of a language?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting when we look around the world in places where we have the greatest biodiversity. It's actually the places in the world where we have the largest collection of languages. So when we see biodiversity loss, we ultimately see language and cultural loss come about as a result. And in addition to that too, the impacts of climate change not only force people out of their homes and into other cities or other regions, which separate those cultural groups from actually being able to continue speaking their languages, but sometimes it's actually just the physical effects of climate change. So sadly, if it's, a flood coming in and destroying a city and destroying an entire language group like that, or if it's globalization, or sadly as well, discrimination is quite a really big impact around the world that's impacting on people from speaking their languages and being proud of being who they are. So climate change and all these issues that we're going through around the world are really big drivers of the language loss that we're sadly seeing all across the earth.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Very insightful. Something I didn't really think too much of, but yeah, it surely does have an influence.
Yeah, like I was saying in my speech, we've got over 7,000 languages in the world, and yes, sadly by 2050, over 90% of them are, estimated to become extinct. And it's in the same way that we wouldn't want anything to become extinct in our world, whether it's a plant or a tree or anything else, we wouldn't want the same for our languages as well. So I really wanted to use this opportunity to talk about an environmental issue that maybe we can't see or we can't touch, but ultimately impacts our life.
Thanks, Angela. I've got a question for you. Not necessarily languages, but the New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife Service has different parks that are working with local Indigenous people, I guess training them up as rangers and actually teaching them and learning from them. How do you think, how important do you think that is moving forward in caring for our Australian environments?
Oh, I think it's absolutely important. There's so much that we can learn from our First Nations peoples, and so much that we can learn from one another, how to look after the environment. So I think the more voices that we get involved and the more diverse voices that we hear, I think it's ultimately the best way to be able to ultimately improve our environmental impact.
Great. Mark, do you have a question for Angela this evening?
Yes, I do. Hi, Angela.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. My question is around the languages again.
Yeah.
You talked about by 2050, I think, we're running at 9% of the languages will be gone. Besides our own languages and our languages from our heritage and our background, what else can we do to help save those languages from going?
I think, well, first things first, speaking our language. Especially in multicultural countries like Australia, or a lot of countries around the world where you might have a dominant language that's spoken through the generations, people might start losing their languages and not communicating in them as much. So if people aren't passing them down generation to generation, that's quite a large impact. Ultimately as well, issues like discrimination, I mean, it just makes me so sad to think that there are people out there scared to be who they are and scared to identify with their cultural backgrounds or linguistic backgrounds because of the amount of discrimination that's out there. So I think it's not only just encouraging people to speak their languages, but also telling everyone that we are all beautiful. Doesn't matter what background we come from, doesn't matter which country we come from, what religion, what we believe in. All of us impact around all of us. So I think those are the two things that we can absolutely do to help language, to increase and to ultimately thrive throughout the world. But in addition to that, I think it's also taking an interest in our languages. So not only just for the bilingual or trilingual or multilingual people around the world, but the people who might only speak one language, there's no reason why you can't learn another one, and it doesn't matter what language it is, the more the merrier. So if you do have an interest in learning a language, definitely go out there, look at some schools, look at some resources to ultimately improve your linguistic vocabulary as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela. That's very good tactic.
Yes, I might have to open up my Japanese textbook from a couple of years ago again. Well, thank you once again, Angela. We are going to be moving on to our next finalist for this evening, and that is Nicole Wilson from Victoria. Oops, hold on. Sorry, I forgot. Angela, do you have any final statement you would like to share with us?
Yeah, sure. Look, for me, ever since I was young, I've known that my purpose in life is to be of service and to help people. And so if I was fortunate enough to become Miss Australia, that would be the way that I would lead everything I do, leading it through my heart and leading it through an angle of just wanting to help as much as possible, wanting to help not only just our country, but ultimately to help the planet. So I'm always heart focused. I'm always leading with love. And if I was lucky enough to be able to become Miss Australia, that's what I would want to do. So thank you so much for this experience. It has been such a pleasure, and I've been so honored to be able to meet all of you guys and to be in this program and go through this process. So whatever happens, I'm incredibly blessed. And yeah, thank you so much.
We're blessed to have you too, and sorry for almost cutting you off. We will now actually move on to our next finalist, who is Nicole Wilson from Victoria.
Hi, how are you?
Hi there, Nicole. We are ready to hear your speech whenever you're ready to go.
Thank you. I'd like to start by saying how we view the world is how we treat it. I really believe that in this generation, we have a responsibility to reimagine our society and values. I'm a strong believer in biophilia, which is the innate instinctual connection we feel with nature. Therefore, I believe we need to start reconnecting not just with each other, but with the environment. To do this, I believe education plays a very large part, but positive education, showcasing how we can make simple everyday changes accessible to everyone to move towards a society that focuses on giving rather than taking. We're constantly showing the negative facts about our environmental crisis, but this often leads to eco-anxiety and us feeling deflated. So I want to inspire people, show them the positive stories and make them believe that they can make a positive change. To do this, I was doing weekly reels, and I'll continue doing this by doing fortnightly lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Let's see if Mark has a question for you.
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. You touched on some things about positive education that sparked my interest. So besides just the Instagram reels and stuff like that, what other positive education can we talk about to offset the negative facts that the media seems to be putting out there all the time?
I think it's really important to encourage people to get engaged with their community and just get engaged with the environment in general, and that's how we reconnect with it. So I think in positive education, depending on the age, I know I have a 10-year-old brother, and he actually does this at his school. They have gardening class and they learn about the environment and they start to appreciate it. So I think besides online virtual things when we're not in lockdown, it's really important to encourage people to join their local community groups or buy some indoor plants or start learning how to propagate, and that will in turn help them reconnect, and then they will also develop a sense of care for the environment instead of seeing it as just a resource we can take from.
Thank you, Nicole. Very good answer. Also on that, I'd just like to say that in our backyard, we've done the same thing. We've just planted as many trees we can, natives, whatever. And it's good to see we've finally got bees back in our backyard again. So
yeah, that exciting aspect of it that makes you love it.
Yeah.
I'm with Mark. We've planted some native trees and we've got the native birds visiting and eating from the flowers. So with your focus on education, what do you think that you can do in today's age of social media to break through any misinformation about the environment that we see online? So people like climate deniers.
I think it's really hard. And I think that goes back to just encouraging people to connect, really connect. Obviously in lockdown and being virtual for pretty much everything these days, it's hard to get people to do that. My mum was a climate denier for a long time, which is embarrassing to say, but when she started actually seeing the impacts on her, she started to really shift her view. So I think it really comes down to finding ways to connect with people and getting them to engage with the environment and seeing how it's directly affecting them, and that will make them start to realize that they need to actually take action. But there is also a lot of greenwashing and a lot of false information out there, so you really have to be checking your sources, and that's also something I want to educate on as well, of what do you look for in a resource to make sure it's correct.
Great. Thank you so much. Checking the sources is always incredibly important. So I'm glad you brought that up. Nina, do you have a question for Nicole?
Yeah, well, I think you've covered the topic really well. And I probably just want to ask, like, what do you tell the people who are just feeling very overwhelmed and they sort of think, well, what's one person going to do? What is just one person going to do to actually make an effect versus pushing the responsibility on corporations and businesses and stuff like that? What do you tell the individual, and how can they overcome that sort of distress and feelings of being overwhelmed?
It's definitely something that I've looked into, and something that I did speak about in my speech as well a little bit. I think it's kind of like Mark said, it's just getting them to get involved with small steps and seeing how it can actually have an impact. So planting a few trees in your backyard will bring back the bees and will bring back native wildlife, and it will help improve your environment. So I think it's just encourage them to start small and sharing positive stories from other people and through personal experiences to try and inspire them and uplift them.
Mm-hmm. Really sticking to that positive education and just creating awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the doom and gloom can kind of turn people off or disengage them. So having that positive does build into your advocacy of connection and education. Nicole, do you have any final statements you'd like to share with us?
I would just like to say thank you so much for this journey, and I really hope that I've been able to inspire someone or engage them in learning a bit more about connecting with nature, and I will continue to do it no matter what happens. I would obviously love to win Miss Earth and continue advocating through the Miss Earth pageant, but I will still continue to do it no matter what. So I just really hope that I've been able to inspire someone through watching this journey so far.
Yeah, I'm more than certain that you've inspired at least one person out there. Thank you so much, Nicole. We're going to move on to our next finalist this evening, and that is Jessica Markey from New South Wales.
Hello.
Hi there, Jessica. We're all ready and waiting for your speech.
Okay. I'm just going to start by saying, how do you feel about people becoming homeless and having to find homes in new countries? How about the fact that the Great Barrier Reef will be completely gone? Has it ever crossed anybody's mind that you may be required to actually evacuate your own city? This is not an imaginary future, by the way. This is scientific projection of Australia under 3 degrees Celsius of global warming. And by the way, this is just 79 years away. That's when a baby born today will be 79 years old. That's not far away. And this is all happening because of climate change. And yes, I wanted to start my speech today with some scary facts to catch your attention and everybody listening and really listen to what I'm trying to say. Not all is lost, though, because all I mentioned is only going to have an effect if we don't do anything to act on it. My advocacy is to raise the awareness of climate change, and there are things that we can do to help this from happening. Things such as using energy wisely, like having an electric stove instead of gas, hang your clothes instead of using a drying machine. Start with climate conversation. I know that I have. I've spoken about this with many of my friends and my family, and I've impacted them. And I know that they subsequently will impact other people close to them. And there are many more things that we can do, but I don't have enough time today to speak. My name is Jess Markey, and I really hope that today I was able to show you our future reality, but how we can actually combat it to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. I will start with a question for you. So, do you think it's important for countries around the world to come together on climate agreements like the Paris Climate Agreement?
Yes, absolutely. I think this is not necessarily just a thing that is in Australia. This is something that it's going to affect the whole entire world. And I think as a collective, this is a global warming, like it says it in the sentence, like it's in the word itself, it's climate change. It's something that, all countries need to get together to actually change so that each individual in every country of the world can actually make a small impact. And like you were talking about with Nikki earlier and what she was saying, it's really all about the collective. If each person does make a little change, we can have amazing results. So, I was just connecting that with Nikki just in regards to, how to make somebody feel when they feel hopeless, if it just letting them understand that if you do this as a collective, you can actually change things. So as a collective worldwide, that's, absolutely, to answer your question, in short.
Thank you so much. Nina, do you have a follow-up question?
I think that's a really good point. Nothing is too small to actually make a difference. But I just want to ask you, so if you were to compete on the international stage, how do you think you will stand out compared to some of the other girls?
I mean, look, I don't think I'm just going to be completely honest with you. I don't think it's necessarily like I am more special than any other girl. I think everybody has something that they bring to the table that is different. Personally, I just feel like I'm a person that is very out there. I'm very passionate about the things that I talk about. And so if I were to compete at the international level, what would make me different is that I'm very out there and outspoken. So my message about raising awareness about climate change is just something that I know that I can influence people and make them really understand what I'm talking about. This isn't about winning a crown. This is about making a change. And being at an international level, I can do that globally rather than just in Australia. So I hope that answers your question.
No, that was really
strong voice. Mark, on to you. Do you have any questions for Jessica?
Yes. Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Hello. I'm great, Mark. How are you?
Thank you. Good, thank you. My question is around global warming, climate change, and the governments. What can we do as normal citizens and netizens, as I say, to help the governments or persuade the governments to stop dragging their feet on the climate change and renewable energy sources instead of just keep delaying? You keep hearing the governments keep delaying all these programs. What can we do to make them actually take action?
As individuals?
Yes, as individuals or a collective.
Well, look, as individuals, I think like one of the things that we can do is sign petitions, and that's one thing that will go to the government. But other things that we can do is, I think personally, I just think we need to really just, instead of focusing our energy on how to get to the government and make them make the changes, like, yes, we can do all we can do by signing petitions. Like, we can even raise more awareness on social media that they see that and making a big statement with that. But I think it really just comes down as the individual and then as a collective of individuals, like using and different types of energy, or eating meat-free meals. Don't waste your food. Make your own little garden at home where you can grow, if you can. I mean, I live in an apartment, so for example, I can't actually do that. But the place that I work at, we have the compost, and then we have the little garden where we put all the compost in, and we're growing like whole sorts of herbs, things like that. I just think it has to be something that comes from us, rather than focusing so much on the governments, because I understand that they might not act as fast, but I know that they do have things in place to make things happen. But I think while we wait for that to happen, we just need to focus on us and what we can do.
Yes, that's a very good plan. I agree with you. We need to start as individuals and change our habits, and hopefully that will spread to other individuals. So then that works as a collective.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Just one quick follow-up before we go to your final statement. Do you think having a conscious vote when we are electing in our governments is important in, being able to combat climate change?
Yes, absolutely. I think, go vote and vote for the party that actually supports it. I think, again, there's not much. I find personally, I just feel like there's not many people out there talking about it. I'm talking about like voting for, for people that support it and that actually can help with this. And so I think it has to be something to do with even just talking about it more, and then go vote.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica. Do you have your final closing statements for us?
Yeah. Look, if I personally feel like each person here in this Miss Earth Australia 2021 journey is amazing, and everybody has different advocacies. I personally feel like I was saying earlier, I would love to, win the crown, just because I feel like I would be a great person to continuously spread the message and continuously advocate. And even if I weren't to win, this has been an absolute crazy journey. I loved it, and I really loved the support of everybody. And I have to say that my friends and family throughout this journey have been so helpful and so amazing, and the time that they've given up to help me film videos and stuff for these has been incredible, and I'm so appreciative. And also appreciative to all of you guys that organized all of these and that have watched. But regardless of the result, thank you. I am so happy. I've learned so much from the girls and from you guys. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Competing in Miss Earth really helps you feel the love. We are going to move on to our next finalist, and that is Sarah Chute from Victoria.
Hello.
Hi there, Sarah. Are you ready to give your speech?
Yes, I am.
All right, go for it.
So my advocacy is wildlife conservation and stamping out extinction of our native species, as well as protecting the environment through doing an education and just creating awareness. I didn't want to start off on a negative subject to do with this, but I feel like it's the only way we can sort of get that point across, that awareness needs to be made, that about 12 species of native Australian animals have been pronounced extinct, and that was March this year. And there are over 1,000 flora and fauna species that are endangered, and a third of those are critically endangered. This absolutely breaks my heart, because these are animals that the general public don't even know existed, because they're not your typical koala, emu, or kangaroo. We need to create more awareness. We need to educate even our school children that these other animals are around. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Mark, would you like to start off with a question?
Yes, I would. Thank you. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. My question is around about the endangered species you mentioned, obviously. Yes, we all fall for the cuddly koalas who are endangered and all that stuff. So how can we go about finding out about the other endangered species that exist on the list of, especially the critical endangered list? How can we go about, finding out about those and trying to save those animals and species?
So there is lists on the government websites that actually show you which animals are seen as threatened, critical, endangered, and critically endangered. And through finding these, we can even become, as a community, using your community, even social media, to create awareness of these animals. Like in my live that I did with Sheridan earlier this month, I talked about the fat-tailed dunnuts. They're little tiny marsupials that not many people know about. If you find animals, even Australian animals, that you are so interested in, that you love dearly, and just talk about them and share things on your social media, creating that sort of awareness, it will help so much that you just don't even realise that how much it will do something.
Yes, thank you for that. Very, very good answer.
Thanks so much. Nina, do you have a question you'd like to deliver to Sarah?
Hi, Sarah. Lovely to meet you. My question would be sort of what wildlife policies or initiatives would you like to see sort of implemented in the community that can help sort of reverse this trend of wildlife or species going extinct?
I would like for them to implement more ways that the community can get involved in decreasing the amount of habitat loss, even if that is creating more community-based, tree planting days, or just planting in general of those native flora that are needed to create the habitat for these animals. It also, as like a lot of us have said, it isn't just about what the government and what sort of policies can be done. It comes down to even just the individuals themselves doing those things within their own backyard, like making sure that you do have those native flora around so that the animals can find a safe place or a sort of a haven, so to speak, in your own backyard or within your community.
Yeah, definitely. Like it comes both ways as an individual and, politicians. It's all about creating that environment where these animals can thrive.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarah, my question for you is, what's your opinion on, focusing on things like captive breeding and translocation over things like habitat restoration? So basically taking animals from the wild to breed them, to put them back into the wild, instead of, working to fix what issues we've created.
I am very much for that. But the other thing is that we need to take into consideration, is there going to be the food there for those animals? Is there going to be, those keystone species that need to be there for those animals to thrive? Because actually not too long ago, my mum was talking about this before COVID. She went to Tasmania. They went to the Tasmanian devil parks, and she asked them about this area that has been now turned into a nature reserve. And she said, "Oh, could you put the Tassie devils down there?" And they said, unfortunately, no, because they haven't actually got the food source down there for those animals. Yes, it is a safe now reserved for them and all this sort of thing, but because they're scavengers, there isn't the predatory species where they can find their food from that there. So yes, it is an amazing program to do, like what they have actually been doing that with the eastern barred bandicoots in Phillip Island in Victoria. But it also needs, for those sort of animals that are predators, that are needing other species to live, we need to make sure that those other species are around for them too.
It's so important. I spend a lot of my day looking at applications, and it's a super complex process. So I'm glad you know all about it. Thank you so much. Do you have any final closing remarks for us this evening?
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has been involved in organising this amazing organisation and pageant. And I would like to say that even if I don't become Miss Earth Australia, even though it would be so amazing and it'd be an absolute wonderful platform to have even the international stage to talk about what's going on in our country, I would be doing that even without the crown. This will be continuing on just to ensure that everyone is made aware of what environmental conservation can do, what the conservation of our animals can do, even down to what you can do at home to help protect our wildlife. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sarah. That was lovely, and animals are near and dear to my heart, so I love listening to you talk about them too. We will welcome our next finalist, and that is Phoebe Sugiono, and she's from New South Wales.
Hello.
Hi there, Phoebe. We're ready to hear your speech.
Yes, of course. So Miss Earth is not only a celebration of nature, but of true beauty and enablement. As they say, look deep into nature and you will understand everything better. This journey has taught me to become more resilient and to endure difficulties that have and may come my way. It has been instilled in me that nothing is impossible if we keep persevering, and that is the mindset that we need to have when facing with environmental problems. It has been 10 months since I decided that I wanted to compete in Miss Earth, a pageant where I can really put my heart and soul into an advocacy that I am passionate about. My advocacy is focused on sustainability in fashion and how clothes are damaging our environment. Society is so focused on wanting to have a new everything that they don't realize how many tons of clothes are being damaged or burned every year. And I used to be like that too, but through education, I have now realized it is so important to reuse, reduce, and revamp. And I am just so grateful for this opportunity that Miss Earth has given to me, because I know that this is only a stepping stone to better serve my community and our environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phoebe. I'll start out with a question for you.
Yeah.
So the other day I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across a hoodie that was like full merino fleece. It was beautiful. But I looked at the comments and everyone was complaining that it cost $250 because it was sustainably made from ethical wool and had a zero carbon emission footprint.
Yeah.
What do you think when people want to make the right environmental decisions in their fashion choices, but it might be out of their price range?
Yeah, so there is always, there is a downside to fast fashion, but the upside is that it's so cheap, and that is why everyone buys it. That's why students are always buying $10 tops. But when it comes to sustainability, you also have to make that sacrifice of price, because it's all about the quality of the material, if it's ethically made and if it's ethically manufactured as well. So you have to take all of those things into consideration. And of course, that is going to equal to a higher price, but that is something that you will have to sacrifice. And if you can just, walk to work, or just instead of Ubering, or just making little changes to save up for that item is going to last you for years. And that is even going to save you money than buying 10 pieces of clothing that is going to last you 6 months.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. The decisions that I've made have lasted me a very long time. Nina, do you have a question for Phoebe?
Yes, I think that's a very relevant topic, especially with the way that social media is and how we can easily be influenced into fast fashion. What are some initiatives that you do at home that, or what are some ways that you use your social media to sort of bring that message about?
Yeah, so social media is such a good platform to have because everyone is on it, especially during this lockdown. But everyone knows, even with my eco posts, I'm always borrowing and I'm always hiring clothes. I think it's so important. If you have something or if you have a resource that you have with you already, there is no need to buy more. And that is why there is so much waste. So if you just can use what you have, I'm all for using what you have and borrowing and even hiring dresses. That is so important because in the long run, you know, you're going to maintain that habit of always looking in your closet first before buying something else, you know. So I always want to, so with social media as a platform, I want to have that influence to teach girls that it's okay to reuse clothing. That is what it's for. And that's why I'm all for buying sustainable clothing, because it's going to last you for years.
Yes, I love that response, because I also have that issue of like, oh, I don't want to post this photo because I've already seen myself, like people already see me in this outfit. But I think the more you do it, the more it encourages people to also do the same.
Exactly. Thank you.
Great. Mark, would you like to follow up with another question?
Yes, sure. Hi, Phoebe. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you. My question is about the ethically made clothing.
Yeah.
You know, like Brittany said, it's all over the internet. People, you know, selling, they got ethical clothes, etc., etc. But how do we really know which people are true ethical manufacturers, or just companies that are just trying to cash in on this buzzword, so to speak?
Yeah, this is why this is a problem as well, especially with big companies. I don't want to name names, but H&M, and how they have a green collection as well. But with all the other clothing, I'm sure it's not all consciously made. So I really commend brands like Faithful, the brand, and Nobody Denim, and who is Australian, and they're very transparent with their practices. So I feel like a lot of companies need to have that integrity to know how their clothes are made and where it's made, and they shouldn't just think about money. But if they can have that transparency on a website, or even like I had a live stream with Sheridan, and she was even suggesting putting it on like the tags of the clothing item, which is awesome. Just to have that transparency to know where it's coming from, and that's going to make people more aware to want to buy more sustainable clothing, because we don't want to buy from a place that only pays the people $1 an hour. That is just not ethically right, and it all comes down to morals as well. So I really hope that in the next few years to come, that a lot of companies will be able to have that integrity to really be transparent in their practices.
Thank you. Also, to follow up on that, do you think we need to like legislate clothing labels like we do with Australian made to actually show that ethically made as well?
Yes, of course we need to do that. Ethicals are just an important thing to have in life, not just in life, but in clothing as well. So I think that's going to boost a lot of sustainable brands if they do have that transparency, and if we push to have ethical labels made on brands. So I agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phoebe. Nina, do you have any follow-up questions?
No, yeah, I think you did like an amazing job, and I think the more we can push for companies to be more transparent, I think it's going to have a positive influence on the consumers, and putting your money where your values are at as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's because everyone wants to be a good person. So if I don't know, I feel like people like to show that they are good people, obviously. So if brands can show that, you know, they're 100% and transparent in all their ways, people are going to want to follow, and also they're going to want to, you know, influence other people to do the same way. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thanks, Phoebe. Do you have any final closing remarks for all of us this evening?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say that this pageant has been really thrilling and exciting, but it has also been really challenging. And I think a life lesson that I have relearned is, you know, through trials and tribulations just to have perseverance and to keep going, because you are going to surprise yourself on where you can go and how far you can go. With this pageant, I feel like I have really grown in maturity and character. And like the other girls said, whether or not they get the crown, whether or not I get the crown, I can be proud of myself, because with every round that I've done, I have really persevered and I've really tried my best, and that's all I can do. So yeah, I just want to say as well, thank you to all the organisers who have done this virtually. I know this is the first time Miss South Australia has done this, so I really commend you all. And you all have been so supportive, and you have answered my questions 24 hours a day. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you for everything. And thank you to Nina and Brittany for judging tonight as well, and Mark.
Thank you. And yeah, I definitely have seen your confidence grow over these live streams. So yeah, you've done a great job. Thank you so much, Phoebe. We are going to move on to our second last finalist for this evening, and that is Taylor Sharp from Western Australia.
Hi everybody, I hope you're well tonight.
Welcome, Taylor. We are ready to hear your speech.
Thank you. The world, I'm sure we all know, and the business world has changed so much in the last 50 years. Through globalization and advances in technology, we've seen a need for transparency and responsibility in business, because we as consumers can see all of the goings on behind the scenes now. We can see this in business sustainability and the triple bottom line. So whereas once businesses used to just focus on profit, they're now being told they need to focus on people, planet, and then profit to be successful. By all means, your individual actions still matter so much. So please continue to stop using single-use plastics, because we as consumers create a demand. Without the demand for plastic bags, there won't be a need for supply, and that whole industry will be obliterated completely. So your individual actions do really have such an influence. However, I do believe that the responsibility really does lie in these big businesses that are completely destroying our environment. There needs to be better protection, preservation, management and restoration of the environment and the actions they do in damaging such. There also needs to be better policing by our governments to ensure that the businesses are following through in these actions. Thank you.
Wonderful, Taylor. Thank you so much. Nina, do you have a question for Taylor?
Yes. Hi, Taylor. Lovely to meet you. Just on that remark of, creating transparent businesses and everything, I have noticed that on social media, at least, there's been a lot of, I guess, cancel culture or calling out people and stuff like that. I maybe want to just probe, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's a good or bad thing? How should we be utilizing that in social media?
Yeah, of course. So whether it's cancel culture in the traditional sense of just a person, or if you're talking about a whole industry, a brand or a business, I think that straight out cancel culture is very damaging. No one learns from cancel culture. If you just say, let's stop listening to this person and end the conversation really needs to keep going and it needs to be started. So instead of cancel culture, I think there needs to be a responsibility culture, and people need to start being held responsible for their actions, There needs to really be that conversation of going back and forth. You can't just cancel someone because nothing changes them. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a really good answer, because I think we're so quick to just, cancel people out or fire people who are, CEOs of businesses. But I think, we also need to give these people a chance to fix their mistakes and show that, they're taking responsibility. Mm-hmm. So I love that idea of responsibility culture.
Yeah, it was such a great concept. On the topic of businesses, I'm not sure if you're aware of or know much about biodiversity or offsetting. If you do you think it's valuable in today's society to have people, I guess, still pursue not the best ecologically friendly decisions and then just try to make up for it somewhere else?
No, so I think it all starts when, you're kind of going through the stages, if that makes sense. So if we look at what we can do as people, the first thing that we can do is just completely rethink our actions and not get to that point. But then if you go down the line, obviously you get to the point where you've made them choices and the best thing to do is recycle. It's similar with business. So the first thing that you need to do is really protect the environment and get to the stage where you're not even harming it in the first place, you're not even touching it. But if we've already made them actions, unfortunately, then the best thing that we can do is really to get that restoration and replace the biodiversity as such. Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to do it, because otherwise it can just be a little bit tokenistic. So as much effort's made as possible, it makes a lot of sense.
Start if you can, but if it's already been done, we still need to start for it.
Yeah, perfect, spot on. Mark, do you have a question for Taylor?
I surely do. Hi Taylor, how are you?
Hi Mark, I'm good, thank you.
Yes, you spoke passionately about single-use plastics, and that is a big problem for our society at the moment because just plastics everywhere. But I was watching the news tonight. There was a story that what do we do when we got single-use plastics, but we have to use the plastics for, like, what's the word? We need plastic for like health and hygiene. We have to use it. You know, is it good? Are there other alternatives, or should we invest in finding alternatives to that plastic to still meet the requirements of health and food grade?
Yeah, so I think we've especially seen this at the moment in the past 2 years, because Australia especially, we were on such a good course of just eliminating everything. Especially I could even see it in my workplace, everything was gone. But then all of a sudden COVID happened and we got told you're not allowed to use anything reusable anymore. Everything needs to be thrown out. Yeah. And unfortunately, we have had to take a step back and take care of our own health first before the environment, because, I mean, we are the people that need to be here to take action for the environment, if that makes sense. So in this case, we have had to do that, but I believe that if this is going to continue, we really need to be putting money into coming up with solutions that can still be clean and still be germ-free, but are going to be less harmful on the environment. Thank you.
Yes, I agree with that. We need to look at other alternatives to the plastic and single-use plastics, or even biodegradable plastics that still keep things safe and healthy for us. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Taylor, do you have any final closing remarks for us all this evening? Not our last, sorry, we have one more after you, but your final closing comments.
Of course. So I would just like to say, first of all, enjoyed this whole experience very much. I feel like it's gone so fast. It's only been a couple of months in a pageant, which is crazy for me, but I really do believe in manifestation and the stars aligning, and I really do believe that everything in my life is coming together at this moment. My background in growing up in the bush and having that knowledge of the environment and how we need to treat it, and then my business skills from university that I now know, better business practices and better business sustainability. I really do believe it's positioned me to be the right person for the role, and I am looking forward so much that if I do place, I can work with businesses and sponsors and creating more sustainable actions. Going as far as big businesses and the government, if that's possible, I would absolutely love. I would like to say thank you to all of the organisers, all of our judges. You've all been so amazing to meet and talk with, and organising this whole virtual pageant. You've done such an amazing job. And I would just like to say good luck to all the girls. You've been so amazing and you're so lovely, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sure you're going to go on to do big and great things. So yeah, with that, we will move on to our last finalist, and that is Iris Lee of South Australia.
Hello.
Hi there, Iris.
Hello, everyone.
You can do it. Let's go.
Thank you. Regenerative farming is all about soil health. We shouldn't treat the soil like a dead thing, because it's not. One handful of soil contains millions of microorganisms, from ants and earthworm to microbiomes and bacteria. The problem is conventional farming utilizes heavy tillage and harmful chemicals that degrade the soil over time. Eventually, we turn soil into dirt. So regenerative farming eliminates the use of heavy chemical and tillage, and also we implement practices like holistic grazing techniques, diverse crop rotation, and maintaining a cover crop all year round. These techniques can also reverse dirt back into soil. Other benefits include increased farming use, thus benefit the farmers financially, and it was proven that the diverse phytochemical in the soil can help us prevent cancer and other chronic diseases. The best thing about regenerative farming is with the healthier soil system, we can actually pull more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere back into the ground. Thus, we can combat climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. That one might test us judges in asking you some questions. I guess I will kickstart this one. So we already have farming systems set up, and we have a lot of intensive practices that are quite, not in line with regenerative farming. How would you suggest these existing operations move forward and, I guess, get the investment to be able to take this on?
Yes, I think the important thing is education. I think not all farmers are aware of regenerative farming because it's a fairly new concept. And also another thing is everything new is scary. So I can understand why conventional farming or traditional farming or farmers are resistive to change to a new practice. For example, with tilling, tilling has been a thing, is a traditional practice. People break up the soil to prepare to plant something. They didn't realize how harmful it is because it breaks the structure and it disturbs the microbiome, which is what we want to keep. So just one thing like that. I think to have incentive, the government can help the farmers by putting funding or give them, tax reduction if they implement the new practices. And also from knowing comes caring, from caring comes change. If they know about it, I'm sure they would want to change.
Definitely. Most farmers have the best of intentions. Mark, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. You've tested my knowledge here, Iris. Okay, I'll try my best. With the regenerative farming and crop rotation and all that, do you think that governments and local councils and state governments should actually invest into research to assist the farmers in bettering their practices?
Definitely. I think one hindrance is actually financial reasons. I know farmers are in a lot of debt and we need to be their voice. They need more support. I do feel for the farmers because this is like a gambling thing for them. They don't want to risk losing all their money. So that's why they may not be ready to make a change and do something completely different from generations before. That's why if we can reassure them that this is a evidence-based and science-based practice and it will benefit them in the long run financially, then I think it will definitely give them some kind of like sense of security and they'll be ready to move forward and get to regenerative farming.
Yes, I agree with you. We need more research into this field.
Yes.
Great. Nina, how about you? Got something for Iris?
Hi, Iris. Lovely to meet you. I guess the other judges. Oh, hi. I guess the other judges have sort of touched on policies that we can do and the research, I guess. But on a more individual perspective, what can the average everyday person do to help with regenerative farming?
Thank you for the good question. I actually asked myself that because I'm not a farmer. So what can we do? And the answer that I came up with for myself is, as individual, the best thing we can do is educate other people and make this a ripple effect within the community. So the more people know about it, better, because then regenerative farming concept won't be an alienated term for farmers or for people. And when more people know about it, there'll be more incentive and more motivation for funding to be put into it, because at the moment not many people know about it. So, and also we can talk to friends, family, social media, watch even like documentary on Netflix like Kiss the Ground is a really good one, and then we can discuss with our friends and the circle around it about it. Just spread the news and the knowledge. Is there a good knowledge? Is valuable knowledge as well.
Mm-hmm. Change everyone's perspective on it. Yeah.
I've got a follow-up comment question for you, Iris. Did you know that most of us in the the east, on the cities, the big cities do have access to the social media to spread the word, but as you know, that most people in the rural communities don't have that readily access to that information. So how can we actually get the word and let them know that we are spreading the word or trying to educate them out there?
Thank you for the question, Mark. That's why I'm working and partnering with Regenerative Farmers Australia. It's an organization, and also they need more funding and need to get bigger. At the moment, because I'm the Miss Earth contestant and I already reached out to them, I had hours of phone call with one of the directors, and they're really helpful to educate me, and I'm happy to be their spokesperson. So when the lockdown finished or when COVID-19 settled, I think I'm happy to go travel to the rural areas and have conferences, meeting with the farmers and the local people there, like a little friendly setting, so we can spread the word to them. Because like you said, if internet is a hindrance, and we can do a tour, do a regenerative farming tour, so people can travel to those places, enjoy nice milk or nice fruit and veggies, and then they can see for themselves that regenerative farming does work and it does have results. So these are the ways that we can reach out to those communities.
Sounds like a good plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Such an interesting topic, Iris. I think I'd love to join you on that little tour, but
I would love to.
Unfortunately, we have to let you go now. Oh, wait, no, final statement from you. Last up.
Thank you. First of all, thank you everyone so much. I don't think you recognize how much Miss Earth has transformed me and educated me. Especially Nina, thank you so much for being here, because I know you've gone really far with the international and you are the inspiration for me to follow the footsteps. Same as Brittany, I know you are such a strong warrior, and your story made me look up to you a lot because of your strong spirit. I think Miss Earth Australia crown isn't made of rhinestone. It is made with dedication, responsibility, and discipline. So I think whoever wears a crown needs to be able to carry the weight of responsibility. Everyone has done really well so far. For me, I think with nursing is my profession, I do believe that I have a good heart and a caring nature. Also, I think I'm articulated, intelligent, and talented enough to make Australia proud if I do move forward to the international round. Thank you so much for being here today and giving me this priceless opportunity.
Thank you, Iris. We can really see your passion when you get talking, so we appreciate it so much. And I will let you go now, but thank you. So, judges, we're all here now, just us. Any extra comments regarding any of the girls or anything that we heard today?
I'd like to say that of those 9 girls finalists we've seen tonight, they covered a very broad spectrum of different topics, and their passion is quite deep and quite strong. And it was actually quite good to see them, such a diverse range of advocacies talked about tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes you can kind of get those batches where you hear the same thing one after the other. But this was very diverse, and I really enjoyed hearing the uniqueness as well. Nina, how about you?
Yeah, same with me. I learned a lot from this talk, and everyone was just so passionate about their advocacy. They provided us so many examples of what they can do at home versus as a community, as a greater community, and policies and legislation and stuff like that. They had a very broad scope of knowledge, which is really great to see. And yeah, it's not your average, normal advocacies that you usually see, like tree planting and stuff. So there was a lot of different things that they covered today very well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's really good to hear them talking about something that they connect with and that they resonate with, and not necessarily forcing them to talk about the 5 R's over and over and over again. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. So we are going to have some comments flashing up on screen as we continue talking. Waiting for that to happen on the webmaster end. So I think we can continue talking while they're flashing up. Any final advice to our national finalists? We'll start with you, Nina.
Yes, well, I can only really speak from my own experience, but just getting as involved as you can. I really love that Iris was very hands-on with her approach. She had little examples for us, and she was getting in touch with the community and the organizations that resonate with her advocacy. So, I would probably recommend the same thing to all the other girls in the competing, is just really get as in touch with your advocacy as you can and reach out to communities and organizations that can help you on your journey.
Certainly, Mark, our webmaster. You go for it.
Man of many hats in Miss Earth Australia. For me, it's been a very good journey with these girls watching these contestants. Like I said before, they've had a very diverse range of advocacies. Some I never even, to be honest, never thought of people would choose, which opened my eyes to a lot of things. Their passion and their drive to continue following even after the competition really amazes me, and I'm proud of it that they will keep going with their advocacies. My advice to the girls is don't give up. I know you won't give up, because I know you'll keep, regardless of what happens, I'm sure you will keep pushing forward with your advocacies and trying to make a change out there. And personally, I'm proud of you, and I think the whole MEA Miss Earth Australia organisation will be proud of whatever you girls achieve in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Mark. That is really great advice. And I'm probably going to be echoing bits of what you both said. But even though the competition is coming to a close, you can go on and you can continue. I'm living proof of that, even though I have come back again and again and again. And if you are really connected with your advocacy, it will come naturally. I am working in the industry. I've dedicated my career to it. And I think that's something that each and every one of the girls can find a way to do, just to work it into their everyday life. And you don't need a crown to do that. And you have all inspired me already. And I'm really appreciative and admire that you stuck it through a virtual pageant, because only people that actually do care would do that. And that's the greatest thing to see amongst our finalists this year. So I am very thankful for all of you, and I can't wait to see what happens this Saturday. But with that, thank you to our 9 bright and bubbly national finalists. That took a lot of bravery, and I am so proud of you all for giving it your best shot and wowing us tonight. Thank you to my fellow judges, Nina Robertson and Mark Hawthorne. It was really nice having a little intimate family tonight. Another thank you to our sponsor for this evening, Mega World International, headed by their Managing Director and Executive Vice President, Marivic Acosta, and the Vice President for Asia and Pacific 3, Liz Angeles. Thank you very much. Thank you to Stargazer Productions, license holder and owner of Miss Earth Australia, headed by our lovely National Director, Tita Julieta De Leon, and founder Maria James. And one last thank you to all of our viewers watching from home. Drop your comments down below and let us know who you want to win the title of Miss Earth Australia 2021. And after you're done here, make sure you go cast your vote for your favourite finalist. Voting is open and closes this Friday on the 24th of September. Please make sure that you like and follow our official Miss Earth Australia Facebook page for your vote to count. And remember, we're just like Santa Claus. We're going to be making a list and we're going to check it twice. Make sure you join us this Saturday, the 25th at 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for the Grand Coronation Show, where I will say my farewell, but we will reveal the next Miss Earth Australia. It will be streamed from our official Miss Earth Australia Facebook and YouTube page. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. See you all. Bye.